Hey guys, David R. Becker here. And so today we are doing a demonstration of Paintalong one day early. And it's only because I'm going to New York tomorrow to the AWS show, the American Watercolor Society show. And so, well, actually we're going to watch a demonstration tomorrow on Thursday from Thomas Schaller. And it is the reason I cannot do a demonstration for you tomorrow because I'm going to be watching one myself in New York at the Salagumdi Club. And so we're going to be watching Thomas Schaller do a demonstration. I'll take a few pictures and I'll have to show you guys. And so that'd be kind of fun. But that's why we're doing it today. And thanks, guys, for showing up a day early. It's amazing sometimes I think to myself that I just put it out there and suddenly there's people here on Wednesday. And so thanks a lot for showing up, guys. And so today we are going to be showing you our website. So here's my website at beckerart.net or davidrbecker.com. And so there's the picture right there that we're going to be doing. So here's the blossoms. I'm not sure what kind of blossoms, maybe apple blossoms, cherry blossoms, I'm not sure. I just know that they're blossoms. And so that's what we're going to be painting. And so we're going to get going here. I got to catch an early flight tomorrow morning. And I haven't even packed the thing yet. All right, so let's go over to our, what else should we show you? We should show you our supplies, right? And so our supplies are my Becker Art brushes, which you can get at my website, which was before the website. And those are the only 4 brushes I kind of mostly use. But there are other ones that are out there that like this sword brush and, all those kind of things. But those are basically the ones I use. And my whole thing, I'm buying colors. I may use today some of the granulating colors also besides these that I have up there. And we are doing this on hot press. Remember I said this in this thing that we're going to be doing hot press today. And there's a train I hear. All right. Shows that my walls are not very insulated here. And so I'm going to show you the value pattern. Let's go into our value pattern. So this is something I always do to all of my students, and if you're a beginner here, let me just tell you why I always make them black and white, and I make a no tan of them, making sure that you see the black and white of the picture, so that you can kind of see the big pattern. And actually, when I did this, when I first did, because the background is pretty much almost the same as the colors in the foreground. So if you look right here on the color version, see, oh, hold on 1 second. So once you see these colors back here in the distance, they are almost as light, especially these right here. See, they're just as light as the flowers themselves. Now what I have to do to that is, so I made these parts a little bit darker back there, because these grays, instead of making them light, I'm going to make them gray but push them back and also try to get them out of focus. So if I had these same values back there and they're in focus, then of course they would be like the front. And so the value pattern would be really hard to make look like anything. I mean, right now these white lights back here are just as light as the lights in the foreground flowers, buds, blossoms. The blossoms up here are very close to that, right? And so we're gonna have to do a little something to that. And so what I did is I made my darks back here really dark to show you that even though that these are middle tones, I'm gonna push them to be a little bit darker than these few blossoms up front here. And the ones in the background, I'm also going to make a little bit darker, plus I'm going to keep them soft-edged. So I'll soft-edge them, and I'll make them grayer, and I just want to separate the foreground from the background. All right? So that's why I always do my value study. You need to have a plan of attack at all times. As a watercolorist, you can't go in thinking, I'll figure that out later. No, you cannot figure things out later. You have to figure them out before you even start painting. Because that way you know when you're putting in your lights and your middle tones and your darks, and when those are out. Because me in my Becker Art 3 step, where I always do my lights first, and that's what I'm doing. And so I'm not going to be doing my background first because it's not on my lightest light. Normally with landscapes, the lightest part is the background in the sky, right? But here, the flowers are the lightest, so I will start with my flowers. And so let's go over to our tabletop. And because it's Wednesday, I did not do this yet. And so this is not, I didn't do it in my class. And so I've been very busy. I did have a class today, but not my Thursday class. So, and here are those granulating colors. And I may use some, if I'm looking at the items, I may, let's see. I was looking at this color right here. I love this turquoise right here. The picture in the background, it has a little bit of that turquoise, so I may use some of that. And these are the granulating colors. Those are the 24 granulating colors. But I thought maybe one of those, and maybe, you know, the violet-y color like this one right here, maybe for, and, you know, I don't have the names of those. Let's see, I have another list right here. I do have another list, which the names on them. And so I'm thinking maybe cherry blossom pink, and then down here we have twilight purple. That's kind of nice. And so I like having these kind of swatches sometimes when I'm looking at my painting to kind of figure out what kind of colors I want to use. And since these are so new, these granulating colors, and I love them so much, why not try some of them? You know, and I do have them in this. I do have them in this case right here. And so these are the 24, and I have them lined up with the other one. I just haven't put the names on these yet. And so that way, you know, I don't want to use all just these colors because these are like 2 colors and 3 colors all in one sometimes. So maybe leave that right there. Anyway, you see those. And then these are lined up like that. See, they're lined up so I can tell which one is which one. And I'm going to put the names on there later. And it's something you should probably do it with yourself too. If you are, you know, if you get one of these palettes or one of these palettes, is put the little name on the side there, or do it on a sheet of paper and do a swatch for your paper so you know what that looks like. And then when you go to think, will that look good on the paper, you know, have it already swatched on the paper. There's a lot of artists that do that, do swatches of their colors, and then put them in your palette, like onto the paper, so that you can just lay it over it almost. All right, so let's get going here. Enough talking. Who's here? Hey, Marion. Cherry blossoms. Okay, that's what they are, probably. Just joined you. Did you do them in Notinizer? No, I didn't do that. I just put them into the into like Photoshop, and I just make it black and white, and then I take the values, and you can do it on your camera too. Take your contrast way from black and white, you know. So just really hit the contrast. You can do that with your phone. You know, you just make it black and white first, and then go in there to the contrast and contrast black to black and the white to really dark white, and then just kind of figure it out and take a look at it, because you can make it all different kinds of things. Just look at it then. All right, so I think we have this ready to go. And for anybody new here, ask away questions. But I want to ask you to try something different tonight. I'm not sure. Oh, actually, you can't do that, can you? Yeah, you can't comment in the comment section. Okay. Join the conversation to interact with creator and other watching the live stream. I was thinking to the comments, but I guess you can't do the comments while it's live. Because, you know, a lot of times I think they look at that part too in the comments. So after it's done, if you want to comment, that would be always really nice of you too to do that. So let's get going here with the whites of the flowers. And now my big flower on my side here went away. Where is it? There it is. All right, so you don't see that. I just need a big picture of it. So it makes me see like what's light and what's... So the lights, I'm going to go in there and do individual flowers right from the get-go. So this is one of those times where I say that I'm going to be doing lights to darks, but I'm also going to have to do some detailing because these flowers are my center of interest. So I will have to kind of go in there and do some of the details right away too. So I'm doing 1 and 3 at once, you know, but it's the light, which is more important than anything. So follow the light, and I'm going to take some purple here. Which one of these is a purple? Where's my list? Where's my list? I mean, a swatch. So I'm going to use a little bit of this purple right here, and so that's right here. So a little bit of this purple. I'm just going to put it into the palette, and I'm just going to go in here with a tint. I'm going to go in. Oh, I forgot to tell. Do I have a rubber eraser? No, I don't. I don't see it handy. but these are kind of dark lines, and so they're gonna have to stay that way. But normally I roll my kneaded rubber eraser across it, but I don't see it at hand right at the moment. So instead we'll just cover it, that's fine. So I'm taking a tint of color. I'm just gonna kind of go in here and get the tinting of, and I didn't, this is hot press, Stonehenge hot press, and I didn't, it's only 140, and I didn't spray it down, but which I probably should because it's 140. I like to spray down 140 with my spray bottle, so that stays put and it doesn't slide around. And it also doesn't, I don't tape it down because then it would wrinkle, and I'm not gonna have it wrinkling. So I put it on this plastic board, and see, it's just gonna stay there now. There we go. Now it's folded up a little bit because it does, when you wet the back, it curls up, right? But because it's stretching, the paper is stretching out, and so it'll come up on an end, but it'll fall down in a second. So let's go up here again and get this nice purple here with a lot of water. Now, being that this is hot press, you're gonna get a lot of hard edges. That's just one of those things. It's not soaking in. It stays on top of the paper when you use hot press. Hot press and Bristol board, which is like hot press, things stay more on top of the paper. It doesn't soak in as much, so that means that your edges are harder if you didn't wet the side. And I don't want to wet the side because that I want it to be dark later. So I'm not going to let it float into that area. I'm just going to go in the areas I need right now. So, and it does look very detailed, right? I mean, because it is. It is a little bit more detailed because I'm doing the flowers. And I'm keeping it really light. I'm going to try to float my pigment inside the hard edge, because it's one of those things I love to do, is just wet it and then just get all the pigment floating around in that water. And nice and light. This is like a tint. I'm just tinting it. And those little stamen and stuff and the little lines right there, those I can put in later. I'll put those in later. And here's the light flower here. Now these buds right here, I'm just going to do each individual one. I'm just going to go right to each and every single one. And these buds are kind of a purpley pink. And so I'm going to wet them. I'm going to wet parts of them. And again, I'm going to do them inside the line. I can go outside a little bit, but since it's going to become like I'm a greenish blue, I'm just going to try to stay inside the lines for now. And see, each one of these I'm going to wet, and I'm going to float some pigment in there. I'm just going to float some purple and some red. Let's throw some red in there. And remember what red you put in there so that you do each one the same. Because you don't want to go too crazy with the different colors. That's the color of that bud, and so use it elsewhere. See, the one right next to it. Look at this one right next to it. I'm just going to wet it. And why do I wet it? Because I want a soft edge, right? I want soft edges, though where I want hard edges, I will just do that now and just wet it to that point. Leave those parts white because there is some white in these things. And then manipulate the pigment inside the water. It's all about putting the pigment into the water and letting it float. I know I'm starting to sound like a recorder and saying the same thing over and over again, but I can't tell you how important it is to float your pigment. It's like one of those things that you want to do to show the granulation for one, too. And here the flower has a little bit of dark in there, and so I'm just going to float some pigment in there too. Now this pigment I floated with the water in my brush at the same time, so I didn't put water down first. I just put it with while it was in my brush. This gets a little bit darker, making it a little bit, because remember it's going to dry 20% lighter, so make it 20% darker than you want it. There's two buds already. Now I got a bunch of here. Now this is poking up because it's wet, right? But I'm just going to put my finger like this on it. Wet it down a little bit. Wet every one of these down. I'm just going to wet it with a little bit of color. And then now that it's wet and I just colored it, now I'm going to put more pigment in there so that I can shape it. Look where the part is darker and it's right underneath here. And actually it's really dark right underneath there. So I'm just going to put a little dark. And is this one? Oh, see, this one's really dark too. So I'm going to put these in there right away too. I didn't see that before. And so I'm just going to put that right in there. And that's with a dark purple. And like I said, I am using the granulating colors only because they're really nice. You can mix them too by yourself with just regular colors like this red I have here. The regular Holbeins that I normally use. And no matter how small something is, you can float it if it's wet inside. And then it gets dark right down here. I can put the dark details in later too. I'm just getting the bigger areas of light. And since I'm already doing these buds, I might as well, get them done. So these will be done, basically. Like, I know it's kind of a detail thing, but again, I always say that it doesn't have to be the law that you're going to be doing step 1, step 2, step 3, and not in a row. Sometimes you have to do 1 and 3 together. It's just that way. David, you can comment on live stream, and this is beneficial for your channel. Viewers just need to pop out of live chat and go to comments and re-enter live stream. You don't miss much. Oh, thank you, Kim. I don't think I can do that because, but I will. If you want to comment on something in my comment section, do what Kim has said here, and yeah, it's like when you live stream, I don't think you can comment in there. I didn't find a way of getting in there, so. But if you find a way, please let us know. Or just do it afterwards. If you're going to done afterwards, or just say thank you or something afterwards. Just put in the comments. It just really helps for YouTube to push it out there to other people besides you guys. And the more people I can help to do watercolor, that I feel much better. It's all for you guys. Just learn. Hopefully you learn something. And one more thing here. There's another one right here. So I wet it. And then I manipulate it. I wet it and manipulate the bud to my liking. I have to keep on doing it until I like it. Like in shaping it. I'm shaping it with more pigment. And these are kind of small, but you can put a little bit of pigment and it'll float. It will soften itself, and and then you're done with them, basically. The bottom parts here are a little bit darker, so you can just put those in right away. Now this back here, this flower, and some of these flowers are harder edged. Or a softer edge, like this one's soft edge. So I'm going to do that when I do the background and it's all wet in the wet. So that's going to be a little bit different than what I'm doing here now. Like here, there's a little bit of... Now let's do these flowers here, and that was with the light purple. Remember I did a really light purple? I'm going to take really light. I'm taking the purple, put a lot of water in this. And I go right in here, and I'm just going to kind of form these flowers. These blossoms, these flowering blossoms. I'm just going to go in there with a tint of color. Yeah, I'm taking all these courses online about how to do all the videoing, taping and stuff, and hoping to make it better for all you guys. And also that way more people hopefully will see it, because I feel like I'm wasting, if I can't get up to a lot of people, it's like, boy, people, you can get in here and it's all free, and might as well. Now I'm going to do a little bit of detail here. Oh, no, I shouldn't do that. Forget about what I just said. Just keep on going with the shading of the flower themselves. The shading right here. And it's very light. It's very, very light. Maybe some lavender, maybe some lilac. And just let it float in there. And the lilac is a little bit lighter, and the lavender is a little bit lighter, but there's enough pigment that you can stop it from, stop it from bleeding into the wash, and so you can get some really nice edges with that. Now I also want to maybe get a little bit of light blue in there too, so it's not so reddish violet, but some blue violet. See right here, there's a little bit goes from a blue, and it kind of just goes to white, and so just let it float into the white. And the little lines and the little stamen and stuff like that, those are details. So those you can get later. I'm just getting the lights, the detailed lights though. I'm getting some detailed lights. And here, look at this the blossom leaves. How they, there's some whites in there. So they're kind of layered right here. And that's kind of neat. Just do the basics. Don't worry about having to do everything perfect. As long as you get the main values. That's what you want, the main values in there in your in your value sketch and in the value scene and how you like it. And these are all dark things again here. Look at these, are really nice and dark. And look at all the granulation happening in there, even though I've not used, because the pigment is floating on top of this hot press. Hot press doesn't absorb into the paper and doesn't take your pigment with it into the paper, into the crevices. So what's happening is it's laying on top, and so it's easier to see the granulation happening right on top of the paper. That's one of the reasons I kind of like using the hot press, because it's brighter. Your colors are much more vibrant because they're not soaking into the paper and dulling down because there's white around it. And so this is really one of those things, one of those papers that really makes your paint vibrant. And you don't even have to use really vibrant colors either. So let me do a few more of these buds. A couple of these buds right here. And I wet it with pigment, so it's not wet first, but I wet it with pigment, and then I put other pigment in there too. I look at how dark it gets, and here it got a little dark. Now I know there's some green in here. I'm going to put that in when I start doing the branches. I don't want to put it in now yet. I'm going to wait for the detail for that. Because I'm going to do the background after I get all these flowers kind of going. And this will be part of the background. And then this is really dark over on this side. But I almost have all the light parts of these flowers. And see how I put them in wet? Might be some picky toggle on your end to allow comments and live stream chat. I'll have to look into that. I'll have to look in and maybe ask Google and ask a bunch of people online if that's possible. But right now we're going to be working on our painting. Look at that beautiful wash I got going in there. And don't have to follow exact colors that you see in the photo. If you want to put some of your favorite colors in there, you do that. You can see I don't have much green in there because I'm not a big painter of green. So I like to save that for like a turquoise, and that's what I'm going to do for the background. I'm going to use this blue right here. And since I've already got all the flowers except for this one right here, I'm going to go in here now and just get my background. And this tree branch is going to be really dark, so that's when I do my large middle tones and darks. Now this is also my lights, mediums, and darks coming up now because I'm doing the whole background, and I'm going to wet it. I'm going to wet it around with my big brush. I'm going to wet it around that flower, and I'm wetting it with just pure water. And I'm going around this flower, give it a hard edge, but I'm going through this one. This one right here, I want to make like that one is right up here. Or is it? Oh, you can't get there. So, yeah, this flower right here is out of focus right there. And so I want to keep that soft edge. So I'm just going to put water all the way through, giving me a soft edge. And now also the paper is going to lay flat because I wet the front now. I'll go around this blossom. And I like to just stop right there because that's a good place to stop where I don't have to wet the whole paper, because by the time I wet this and that, I'm never going to get around to that side and get that done. So I'm going to go over here first and just try to get this part done first. And it's going to be a little bit darker. I'm going to take a little bit more orangey color in there, or a brown. A pinkish, maybe a little pink, and then I'm going to definitely take this turquoise and put some of that turquoise in there. But that turquoise also has a little bit of purple in it, so I'm just going to kind of bring it in there and just let it just float around and make its own soft edges. See, I'm just going to make its own soft edges, and this part over here is really dark, but let me just really quickly go and get to the edges here, let this pigment float. And I don't have to go super, super dark with this, but I do want to get out of focus, which again means that I want it to bleed. And just float into the water, giving it a nice textury surface. Here's a blue, and I want a kind of a black here, a gray, because in that corner you see there's a couple of branches like this, and there's a little bit of dark in here. So I'm just going to take some of these darks and put them in there, make them thick. If you want it to stay put while it's wet like that, you have to put enough pigment. Remember, 20% darker than you want it. 20% darker. I know that sounds like a lot to make it darker than you want it, but you have to do that because it's going to dry 20% lighter. So don't be afraid of putting a lot of pigment to make it dark. And then we go around this edge of this flower. And this flower itself is kind of purpley, lavenderish, so I'm going to put that on there first, and then negative paint the flower with a dark around it. And then this one is this is a hard edge one, so for that I go around it hard edged. Down here though, that's all soft edge, so that means wet in the wet. And now this is wrinkling a little bit because I didn't wet this part on top until this is dry almost underneath. What I could do is I could spray underneath again a little bit, just to get that wet underneath. And that way it'll lay flat again. And it won't wrinkle. It won't wrinkle as long as you keep both sides wet. I do not paint on an incline, not when I'm doing these. When I'm outside, I'm doing like 45 degrees, but when I'm inside my studio, I always paint flat. And unless I need it to run down a little bit, then I'll put something underneath over here a little bit, but right now I'm just going to keep it at like a flat surface. And then I'm going to get a little bit of this beautiful greenish turquoisey color that I think is really just beautiful. I'm going to bring right into this little petal is dark and hard, hard edged and kind of dark too. And then this flower has to be done completely soft edge, so I got to kind of make sure I use enough paint around it so that it pops. So I'm taking all the paint out of all the water out of my brush and just use pure pigment because there's a lot of pigment down here. So watch what I do here now. I'm going to go around these. I'm going to go around these petals, the blossoms. I'm going to go around them in a soft edge because they're wet, and then I'm just going to take pure color, pure thick color with no water in my brush, just damp brush. There's so much water on my paper right now that I can control the edge and make the edge stop right there. And then I'm just going to kind of go around here and get the edges of my petals. This is really, really wet, so that means I really have to pick up a lot of pigment. And there's no water in here now. If you look, there's hard, and I can also touch it here, and you're going to get a little bit of the water releasing, but it's pretty much not that much water at all. And so in here, like this right here, is kind of a little bit harder edged. So I'm going to try to make it soft, but enough that you can see where the edge goes. So you can do that. You can make it soft with the wet paint and then also let that float at the same time. Like this little branch right here, little branch coming in here. This is all still wet, so I can manipulate the paint by putting a lot of thick paint into the water. And because it's thick paint, you can guide it and stop it from running all over the place. This down here though is really soaked, and so you probably can't tell. Can you tell? Let's see if you can tell. See how soaked that is? It's really, really wet, and so there I need a lot of pigment so that I can control that edge. See how thick? You don't have to make it dark like this, but you do have to make it thick in your brush. So let's switch our colors to a brighter color. Let's go to that pure like teal color. So this is lighter, but I have a lot of pigment. So see how I can go in there and just get the shape of this petal. And it's by me using a lot of paint, and this paint was dried now since the first time I used it. So, but this paint rejuvenates just like the Holbein does. This is a granulating color, and so it does a beautiful job of when you put it into a wet wash, how it just granulates. And I can just pull it a little bit more paint. You need paint to stop it from running in water. If you don't learn anything from me, learn that one thing. That's one of the things I'm trying to teach people, is that you can, how to work into a wet wash of watercolor. And then see how I'm putting little things in there to make it just look kind of interesting. You can put like little branches, but how many trains are going by today? So we're going to put this. All right, now that's that side. And you're going to put maybe put a little bit of that soft edges in there. I'm going to take my small round brush and get some of the reds, because that's also out of focus, right? And that soft edge. So I'm going to put that in there right away too. I'm using pure pigment, no water in my brush, hardly any water, because the water is on my paper. And that's the only way you can work hot press and get soft edges, because soft edges don't happen on their own by putting it on dry paper, right? Well, it doesn't either on the other paper, the cold press paper either, but it's easier to make it soft edge, where this is hot press, so it's harder to make a soft edge on the edges. Like this. That's hard to do because you have to keep it all wet. So you got to kind of all do it in one shot while it's wet. And the thicker the paint is, the more I can go really dark with it too. And when I'm using a dark color, and it's not going to bleed all over the place. Alright, let's get a little bit more of the purple going down here. And see, I'm just going to rub this in a little bit. It's almost like playing in the sandbox when you're using a lot of paint and just a little bit of water. You can just pile the pigment on top of itself. And I know it says you're really piling it on, but that's okay. It's wet, and it'll soften itself and be looking really cool. All right, now we got this whole side to do. Now, remember those colors too, because now I've got to do this side. And what I'll do is I won't wet the whole thing. I'll just wet it as I go along. So when I'm going to wet this area right here, and that was, what color was that? I think it was this color. And so I'm just going to go in there. And then just work it as I'm going along. Work it as you go along. And then getting these hard edges. I mean, you could also put masking fluid on there, but I'm doing the background, and I didn't spend enough time in this little area and get it right away. You know, and that, what was that? That was this color again. Put a little of that in there, and there was a purple, right? The purple we had. And that was purple over here, I think, right? Oh no, it was this purple. So let's get, and then I can also put on this side and extend it to this side. Ooh, there's a flower right there that I missed. Oh well, no flower there anymore. The flower does go right here. This becomes hard-edged. This is all wet, so float it away. Float it away. Just let things float. That's one thing about watercolor that you can do that makes things look really cool, is floating your pigment. That's why I constantly say it too, because it's the way of making watercolor look amazing. And there I'm getting my hard-edged flowers, the petals. And for those of you who've been asking me constantly, where can I get the granulating colors? Right now, I noticed that Blick has them in the store now, or online now. They just don't have the picture of it, the box. They don't have this. They don't have this box yet on pictured on the website. But it is the granulating 24 colors that you can get, and it's available right now because they're brand new. I mean, they're brand new, so they didn't have them for the longest time. And so, but now they are. Now they have them. I saw them on there the other day. All right. So even though this is hot press, look at all the soft edges I'm getting. But not, these are hard edges where it's dry, right? So that's really easy to get on hot press. It's this stuff in here that is hard to do because it's not going to stay. You have to, it dries a lot quicker when it doesn't soak into the paper also. So you got to watch out. But you can do a lot of scraping on this too. You can do salt on this really easily on hot press. You can scrape. You can, what else can you do on hot press? Yeah, there's so many things you can do. Spatter some water on there to get a texture. So here I'm going again. I'm just wetting as I go along. Wetting the area that as I'm going along. And then picking up those colors that I want to put on one side of the branch onto the other side. Always, whatever's on one side of the branch, you got to put on the other side. Otherwise, it doesn't look like it. It's like there's a wall in between there. So you just got to make sure that it floats from one side to the other. And then over here, that's all flower, 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 flower. This is the flower, but I'm getting in a hard edge. This goes down here. And this is almost too dark, so I'm going to lighten it up by just pulling out some of this pigment. I'm just going to take that pigment out and put a light color pigment in there. Put some like lavender or lilac in there. Lilac has a little bit of more opaqueness to it, but that's okay. And that's part of that plant, part of that blossom. Let's wet this area. And if you look at it and you find that this is so different a color, then just, I'm just going to rub it, get it, it's still wet, and then put a little bit more of the other colors that I have in there. And I'm missing some of that color, so let's just put a little bit more of that in that area. I'm looking at that, and so how come maybe put a little bit of that in there, let it come across here. Bring that into this area. And while it's wet, it's just floating there, so you can move it around. You can take it out. As long as it's wet, keep it wet. Learn how to keep your pigment areas wet. And then just, use that to get your edges, to get your floating pigment in there. Get your granulation working with the pigment that you're using. Wait, what was this color? This seems, it was this color. There we go. That's the color I'm missing. Can you see that up there? Yeah, it's like the bright turquoisey green. Bring this down around the flowers. Salting at this time, you have to make it nice and wet like that, or spattering with a little bit of water on your hand, putting it in there. It's all good. It's all fun too when you're doing wet in the wet. It's the most fun thing to do when you're watercolors is letting the pigment do its own thing, letting it float there. Especially on a scene like this where you got a lot of beautiful flowers, right, or blossoms. And then you just let the pigment float around. And some of these will look like they're something out of focus in the background, right? You don't have to get so perfect like what the photo is. You can just make whatever you want back there as long as it's floating and soft like that. It's when you see the lines of the brushwork that, especially in the background scene, you don't want that. You want it to be not brush strokes because that makes it look like it's hard-edged. You just want to have it all floatiness. And then your main center of interest, which is right here, that will be all nice hard edge like I got there. Nice hard edge. This will be contrast when I put the big dark branch right on the center. I don't have my darks in yet, and I don't have my dark details in yet. I'm just doing the background. Doing the background and trying to make it soft edged. And some parts, of course, are dark, but I'm just letting it be soft edged. Wet in the wet. And again, this is 140-pound paper, so see how it's not wrinkling? Don't tape down your 140-pound paper. It will wrinkle like crazy because you don't give it a chance to push out from it, because it expands, and it will expand right into the tape and stop, and then give you a bunch of waves on your paper. So don't do that. Just let it just wet the back and then apply it to like a plexiglass board or these political sign boards. Those plastic boards. I'm not sure what they call them. Corrugated plastic boards. Maybe that's what they call them. I'm not sure. And also, again, some pink back there. Get some pink back here. They're floating. But they are floating a little bit, but they're not going into. One's not falling into the crevices because there are no crevices. It's hot press, so nothing goes into like the crevices compared to the top of the thing. So you don't see them as well. Here a little bit, you see a little bit of that, but definitely not as much as you would on hot press. Here, there's a separation of some of the pigments, but yeah, it's probably not as much as on cold press. Hot press, everything sits on top. Not everything, but most of everything sits on top. Get a little bit dark right here. And it also depends on how slow you put it on there, how much pigment you put into your brush when you do this, and how much water's there. I'm not giving it enough pigment, I don't think, when it comes to the granulation to happen. I don't think I've put enough in there. And I'm mixing it with other colors that are not part of the granulating thing, so that's another factor to it also. So this one over here is a branch, and so these are beautiful little petals here. I told one of my students today, because a lot of times they ask me, what color should I use? What color should I use? That is the same answer I give every time, is that use colors that you like. You got to use the colors that you like. I don't have much green in here because I don't like green to put in my picture. Even though some of there's green, there's a green, but it's more of a bluish green, right? It's more of this blue-green. And so that I don't mind as much, but I like purple and orange, as you can tell, right? But that's what you want to do. You put in colors that you like, that are your favorite colors. So that's a petal, that's a petal. And I don't have any of the detailed stamen and the little tops of them and the little things, but I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet to put them in. Now here, this is still wet. Look at how wet this is. Man, this is really wet. And so you can put in a little bit harder even if you have it damp like this. Or you can make watermarks. You can also make watermarks in there, which sometimes watermarks are fun. I mean, they're not the worst thing in the world to put watermarks in sometimes, especially in clouds and things like this. Now right here I noticed that this petal, there's like a little dark coming through here, and this is the background, so put a little bit of that in there. And this is all really dark, and so let's do our darks now. That's pretty much my middle tones now. Those are all my middle tones, and now for the darks. And that's the most fun because you just go in there and put it really thick, dark, and pick all your fun dark colors. I'm gonna make a brown with orange, like an orange and purple maybe. That makes it kind of a brown, and so I'm just gonna come down here and wet it, the whole thing. And now it's dry, so I get a nice hard edge. I want a hard edge. I don't want a soft edge now, because this is in the front. This is not in the background. And then I'm just gonna apply water on top of here and just let it float. Just let it float. And if I don't think it's dark enough, I'm gonna put some black in here. This black I have right here. I'm just gonna put that right into the mix of the water. All right, come down here. And just make sure it's always nice and wet. See how wet that is? And how it's just all floating itself together? I know I say that a lot, but it's very important that I do say it a lot, because I want you to get the idea that I'm doing it every single brushstroke I do is wet in the wet. Every single one I do. There may be a hard edge, but inside the hard edge is always wet in the wet. And once I get my students to do that, it's amazing how much better your paintings look if you actually do that. Because it's a professional way of doing things. It's the way that you get the watercolor to make its best look for itself. And it does it all by itself. That's another thing. It does it all by itself. Put in water and pigment and just watch it. And if there's too much dark in there, take some of it out. If there's not enough light, take some of the water out and then put some brighter colors in there. You know, let them float in the water, and they'll float, and they'll wet and they'll create a nice soft edge. And it's easy to get hard edges, right? Because you're just using on dry paper. You just make sure you work on dry paper. Now here I hit a little bit of wet spot because this whole painting is still all wet except for that one little spot right there. This down here, I'm gonna have to get really close, but it's all gonna bleed if I don't make it really thick on the edges. And I'm just gonna leave it a little bit next to the edge because this is still wet down here. And look at all the different colors I'm using. I'm dipping into everything. And some of these petals can also be, see, like I'll just go dark with the whole thing, and then I'll manipulate a little spot by putting a little bit more water in there, put a little bit more brighter colors in there, and just letting things float around. And if I don't like how it's floating around, or I'm getting watermarks, you can go back in and just stop it from doing that. A little bit darker. And that's, if you're really chintzy with your paints, you're never going to get wet in the wet working for you, because you're going to be tinting, nothing but tinting all the time. Hey Maria, yeah, it's Wednesday, but you can rewatch it. But this has been a fun one with the hot press. It's hot press, and I'm doing my darks, and so how much more time do I have? 15 more minutes. So got plenty of time. And I didn't have anything to bring to drink today. I was in Dixon, Illinois. I drove down my painting for the Illinois Watercolor Society show. And so I drove it all the way to Dixon, Illinois after my class this morning. So I've been busy this morning, and I'm not even packed yet for tomorrow's trip to New York City. That'll be fun. I can't wait to go see Thomas Schaller tomorrow and see how he does his demonstration. I guess you can actually apply for it and watch it online tomorrow night. So if you don't want to miss me, you can actually they're doing a Zoom. They're doing a part of the Zoom demonstration, and that's Thomas Schaller. So let's get in here with some nice colors now. Look at all these buds now. Let's make them really detailed. Now, is my background dark enough? That's what I'm trying to look at now. Kind of it isn't, but I don't want to go back into an area that has this beautiful things happening in it. So I think I'll just make sure that this is really detailed and just pop out, even though this is not as dark as my value study, because that over here should be a little bit darker, but that's almost drying, so I don't want to put that in there. And you don't want to put a hard edge in the background. You just don't want to do it. And then if I wet, I have to wet this whole area again. So I'm just going to leave it and make my details really nice and detail-y. Detail-y? So let's put some darks in here for the edges. Do some pink in there. Just letting it float around. Yeah, the IWS show, I just looked at it a little bit, and I only saw a couple paintings, but the paintings I saw sitting on the wall, against the wall, were pretty darn nice, boy. All these societies, these Illinois Watercolor Society, all the state societies, boy, there are a lot of people getting really good. It's really fun to see. All right, what else kind of details? Let's go there, and the buds. Let's get a little bit darker in the buds with hard edges in here. I'm just going to go in there and get all this hard stuff now. And even though it's hard edge and some of it's kind of thick, I can still put a little water and let a little bit of that pigment float. It doesn't all have to be hard edge. It can be some soft edges in there too. But lines, like little lines and stuff, you can make those nice and hard edged. That's fine. Because not everything has to float. I mean, it's nice to see it floating, but there can be a little bit of everything. A little bit of everything. Lines, hard edges, floatiness. I forgot this is a little dark right here. I can make lines in the branch too to make it look like bark. You can make the bark. Now what I want to do is I want to make that little bit of red around the outside here. Around the inside of the flower, there's a circle there. That looks really cool. So I'm going to do that. I think I like that look right here. Maybe a little bit of opera around that. And it kind of flicks outwards, right? It kind of flicks outwards. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how Thomas Schaller's, I like to see him in person and see how big he paints, and it's just always good to see somebody in person instead of like you're doing now, which is okay, but the actual see. But then again, mine's pretty. I mean, it's pretty big here, so you really see all the details and stuff. I mean, I am kind of glad I started doing that, where you see the picture bigger, because it's nice to see the picture nice and big and see all the granulation and see all the things that make the painting look really nice. So here I'm putting in just the details right now, right? I'm putting in the little stems, the little touches that make the stem, and I'm going really dark with it. I'm using black and a little bit of this brown. And coming down here, the little buds on there, I know some of this is green, but we're gonna have to bypass that. And then inside the middle flower here, I forgot to put a little bit of that in there. Again, still with a little bit of opera, and I'm flicking it outwards. I only see that on 2 of these flowers. The other ones are kind of sideways, so you won't see that kind of look in there. Here, This is the bud, so that I'm going to separate the bud from the background. So make that a hard edge. When I want to make a hard edge, I will separate from the background, because why is the background soft? For that reason, so that it stays back, and hard edges will come forward now. No matter what I do, if I do a hard edge now, it's going to come forward instantly, because the whole background is hard edged, or soft edged, I mean. This. Any soft edge I use now is going to come forward. Let's see, let's go with some purple here. And this is a bud in here, and there's a little hole in this bud. And it comes down here, and then each one of these is a kind of a dark. Let's put a little bit of that turquoise in this one. And put little lines in there, so I separate the buds. This one is a little bit darker down here, so that petal will go a little bit darker as it goes down, and you go up from there. And you can throw shadows from one petal to another petal. Like this petal, I can throw a little shadow behind it. And this needs a little bit dark right here, so the petal goes from dark to light. And this petal got way too light, but you know, this is gonna be a harder one to make dark again, because I have to re-wet it all, and it's still wet. So I'm just gonna leave it there for now and look at it later, because I love the softness and even some of the granulation that's happening and the little fingers that you get. But it actually is too light. It should be sitting back like in the photograph. So let's just leave that one alone for a second, and I'm going to go back to that when it's dry. Here we have some of the branches stuff happening. Dark details shows finally, it makes your painting look good. But wait till the end to do it. I know so many people want to do it right away. They just want to get in there and do all those little details. Wait till the end. You'll have plenty of time to do it at the end. You need those big, beautiful washes first before you get down to the very nitty-gritty end parts. Like, look at how detailed I'm getting now, but that's okay because I got everything else kind of done. But when I see something like that, I didn't get it perfect. That kind of bugs me. But if it dries, I can show you how you can respray it and put another thing on there. But it's never going to look this loose unless you get it the first time. That's the hard part sometimes, though. You get things at the first wash. Sometimes it's actually impossible. So here I'm going to put it in a thing. How much time do we have here? Okay, not too much. So let's get going with our little stamen here. We're going to put in the middle of the flower stuff. Get a little bit more detail. And now we're going to use my rigger brush to get those little, and these are white on a darker background, so this flower has to be all darker. So we may have to dry that while this has to be a little bit darker. Use some nice colors here in the bottom, let them float up. This one is all light, except for the side here a little bit. Look at that wash, that kind of happened by itself. That's nice. Yeah, I would have gotten the background just slightly darker, behind, especially over here, back there. But, oh well, we'll worry about that some other day. Like I said, it's good to learn and try to make things 20% darker. And even myself, I sometimes have a hard time doing that. It's hard to make something look wrong, when you're painting. It's hard to make it look like too dark. And then you're going back and you go, oh man, I should have made it too dark. All right, so let's get our rigger into these little lines. Now that one I can't do that one right now because that's going to be wet to get the white. Because I'm going to make those white. I'm going to make the white little stems. And these are going to be a little bit darker, so I'm just going to take a little bit of violet and watch how many I put in here. I'm just going to go like crazy with my rigger. I'm just going to make this as detail, so don't hold back. Make them, make it as detailed as possible. and almost photographic. You can go photographic with your center of interest. I do not mind that. Matter of fact, you should do that because there's parts of it that need to be tight, and that's one part of it. And these go up kind of dark first and then to light, but I'm going to make more dark ones. And that'll be fine. I mean, I don't have enough white, and it's too wet to make them white right now. So we'll just make them dark. You can always make them opposite. These up here are darker too. This is wet though, so those are not going to stay. Those are going to be very soft edged, which actually is not too bad a thing to do either. And the actual stamen on top are almost like yellow-orange. And so I'm just going to put these little dots up there on each one of these things. Little dots all around. Dot, 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 dot. This one has a bunch of dots that are blurry, so what do you do there? You take thick pigment, and put it in there so it doesn't bleed. Oh, see how far that bled? Too much water. Too much water. Let's see, you guys are going way down here. How much time do we have? 4 minutes. I think we'll get it done. You just had to put dots in here now. So I'm going to put these little dots on top. And basically when you're doing detail like this, follow the picture. Just copy the picture. Copy everything you see in the picture. It's okay. You know, we always talk about, oh, you shouldn't copy. No, copy away. Copy as much as you can. And this is too wet to make these little dots, so I'll have to wait until I get this dried later on. And this should have been light, so I'm going to pull some of that out of there. Because you can also pull things out like this. Watch this. I'm just going to pull that out, that light. Especially when it comes to hot press, it's very easy to pull out. Look at how I pulled that whole thing out there. I just pulled that whole white thing out there. And so the bud's now back again. And then I'll take the bud and make it a little bit darker. Give it some lines. And this really bugs me because it's way too light. But let me think. And there's nothing in there. So I'm going to re-wet that right now and show you how to re-wet something. So I'm going to take my mister bottle. And I'm just going to spray that area. I'm going to put my hand right here so I don't spray everything. I'm just going to mist it a little bit. And now it's all wet again. I'm not sure if you even saw that, but I did mist it so it's wet again. And I have to go in there now with a little bit more darker colors. So, because this is way too dark, or way too light, I mean. I'm going to go back in there, just give me some colors. But see how it's floating? So it's fine. You can get it to float again. Use enough pigment again, just like you did before. But this time, hopefully I'll get it dark enough the first time, or the second time. And then I don't want to get rid of the dark back there. I just want this to be darker, these shadows to be darker. And I know sometimes you cringe because you're like, oh gosh, it would look so neat. But it'll still look neat, but it'll be darker, and that's more important. Values are more important than the other stuff. So important to get the values right. And I even get the background darker. That's what I actually want to do, is get the background darker. That's a purpley blue. See, if I can get the background darker, then that makes that have a nice dark pigment in there. Let's go in here a little bit in the center, get that a little bit darker. You can still pick out a detail, you just got to do it again. It's like you're doing it twice. And as long as it's floating, it'll be absolutely fine. It'll be absolutely, absolutely fine. Because it doesn't matter, because it's floating again. And it's going to soften again, to just like I did the first time. And I remember I did the little pink in the middle there. Well, I can still do that again too. I can just go in there with the red. I can put it in again. That's okay. 1 minute, 1 minute. That's all right. We got it. And then let's do this in here. Let's get this really dark. Lots of pigment. If I use a lot of pigment, I can make it nice and dark and give the shape to it. Bring this on this side. A lavender in there. Just let it float around. Just let it float and do its thing and have fun. Let it have fun by itself. Let the pigment just go on its own. Because it's the way you're playing in water. You're playing in water and making shapes, right? Alright, one more color brush strokes at a time. Yep, it's done. So let me just do this really quickly right here. And then I can always put, when it's dry, I can go in there and make those little white lines. But I can't do that yet because it's still wet. But I'll do one section just to show you. I'll take pure white on my brush. And this you can also do with masking fluid before you start, if you know where you want your lights. I'm just going to go in there and put some of these lines in there, see? I'm just going to go in here and get some of these white lines. And then I'm going to put some in there. And maybe some lines in here. And that is it, guys. Not too bad. Not as dark as I would like to have it done, but I think it's okay. And once it dries and I do the really fine details, like put really sharp, hard, small little lines in there, it'll look this part will look very center of interest like. And you'll have the detail in the background's going to be blurry, right? And if I wanted to, I can go back into this area again and wet it and just scum it a little bit and then put some more pigment in it to make it a little bit darker. I can do that, but I won't. But and also this has to be a little bit darker. But there you have it. And please ask questions or make comments afterwards in the comment section. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe, all right? And we will see you probably Sunday morning. I probably have something because I'll be back on Saturday. After the dinner's on Friday night at the AWS Saligumni Club. So that's Friday night for the awards dinner. And so if you're there in the area, please say hi. We'd love to see you. I'd love to see you if you're in New York. And see you Sunday. All right. Bye-bye.